The head coach is Will Brown, and he joins us here on Big Board Sports. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, guys. What's going on?
Well, you know what? We're just a couple games left in the football season, and we're making that transition from the football being just about done, and we go into a crazy long basketball schedule. But you know, you've had some weeks here of practice. Where do you sit right now with your team, and are they ready to play a game Friday night?
Roger, I'm like the other 350 coaches in the country. I like my team right now because we haven't lost a game yet. We're all undefeated. But, you know, we had two scrimmages which were really good for us, both against schools from higher level conferences and programs that have enjoyed success over the years. And we did a lot of good things in both scrimmages, and we also did a lot of things that we need to clean up. Otherwise, it's going to be ugly the first two games of the year. You know, when you open up at Penn State and at Cincinnati, you know, as I always like to say, those teams go for the knockout punch early and often. And the great equalizer is either a three-point shot, which we're always an opportunistic three-point team, so we're not going to come out and launch threes, and then your execution. And right now our execution is not anywhere near where it needs to be at this point in time. We will get there. Our talent is rock solid, but we need to understand, especially early, we have very little room for error, especially early in the season when you open up with the schedule that we do at Penn State, at Cincinnati. Then obviously we have the Oneonta game, but then we're at Mohegan Sun against a Grand Canyon team that I believe won 27 games last year, and outside of Penn State, Cincinnati, and SMU might be the best team on our schedule. They're loaded. And then we get Holy Cross, you know, who played in the NCAA tournament last year, 5 starters back. And then we've got Siena, who in my opinion is the most talented team in the MAC, and on paper has the best team in the MAC, in my opinion. So early, we're going to be tested, and that's why I'm trying to get our group right now to understand that every possession matters. We are very inexperienced on the perimeter as far as game experience. You know, I know Cremo played, 20 minutes a game last year and played 30 games, 30-plus games, but now he goes from being, like the fourth option on the perimeter to the first option on the perimeter. David Nichols played very few games last year. Very talented, led us in scoring in both scrimmages, and then, whoever we start in that third spot is going to be inexperienced. So we really got to do a great job of executing and helping ourselves as much as we can.
What have you liked so far from what you've seen? I mean, give me a couple positives going into a new season here from what you've seen in the preseason.
Well, I think we have some guys that are fearless. We have some guys that really like the game. I think Steyer and Rowley have done a really good job of cleaning up the mess defensively, as I like to say, and they've been very even-keeled, as far as they just move on to the next play. Our perimeter guys right now hang their heads too much and worry about referees' calls and, different things like that. Teron Land scrimmaged yesterday on Saturday, and was terrific. Almost, I'm not supposed to talk stats and stuff like that, but basically, had a double-double in 15 minutes of playing time. I mean, so, I hold these guys to a high standard, so they probably have played better than I'm leading on right now, but our two best offensive players right now have been our two poorest defenders, and that needs to change if we're going to be any good. And it's not because they're not capable; it's just they're not emphasizing it enough in their minds. So once we cure that a little bit, I think we'll be much better defensively.
Will, we had Paul Shorts on in the last hour from the New York Post, and he wanted to make sure we asked you who your starting point guard was, and I'll take it a step further. If the Penn State game was today instead of Friday, what's your starting five look like?
Well, we put in a waiver this morning to see if Paul had any eligibility left. So we're waiting to hear back. If Paul gets a fifth year, we're going to go with Paul. If not, honestly, we've played with, three different guys that really handled the ball for us in our scrimmages. It's been David Nichols, Marquise Grayson, and Joe Cremo. So the three of those guys have all taken turns, at the point guard position. I think it's good because we can outlet the ball to any of them. Those guys can get the rebound as well and go with it. Really it's mostly been rotating between David and Marquise, but we've played those three guys together for heavy minutes, and they've done some really good things. I think the issue is that we're asking all three of them to know our sets and our actions from three different spots. And, that's been a little bit confusing for those guys. Joe's played the least at the point because we've wanted him to focus on, just scoring the basketball. But, there's been some mass confusion at times because, those guys have tried to initiate the offense. And, we've got some guys, learning, different spots on the floor. And as I tell them, anytime something goes wrong on the floor as far as a set breaks down or somebody doesn't know where they're supposed to be, it's the point guard's fault. So, those guys have a lot on their plate right now. They're trying to figure it all out, and we're trying to get them reps from the wing, from the point guard position. But, those guys are good. They're good. It's just that, we have to have a consistent defensive mentality if we're going to have any chance, these first two games, or if we're going to have any success early in the season. I don't have questions or issues in regards to talent. The issues right now are just, now that certain guys are playing different roles this year, how are they still going to fight, scrape, and claw defensively, or are they going to get comfortable and embrace the offensive side of the ball too much? And that's going to, the defense is going to determine how good we're going to be this year. As long as we don't turn that thing over, we'll put the ball in the basket.
We're talking with Will Brown, and we will every Monday morning here on Big Board Sports. And, of course, the new home for UAlbany basketball this year on 104.5. The team will be on the air at 6:30, half-hour pregame show from the Bryce Jordan Center at Penn State on Friday night. How good is Penn State? What's the scout on Penn State, Coach?
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of excitement, at Penn State now. I guess their last recruiting class, in particular the 2016 class, was very highly regarded within the Big Ten and nationally. They're going to start probably two freshmen on the perimeter and a sophomore, all from Philadelphia. So there's a lot of talent. Young talent, a lot of energy. They got some big guys up front. Big kid Watkins, who redshirted last year, who's 6'10", redshirt freshman. So they're talented, but they're also young. From what I gather, they beat Seton Hall by double digits in a scrimmage, and they're excited about their team. And so, for us, half the battle at that level is getting good players, and I think they've got some good young ones in their freshman and sophomore class. They have a transfer from UConn that became eligible, this year. So I know they're really excited. So I think for us, again, you guys have been at enough of these games. When you play these up games, a lot of teams will do things against the non-Power 5 schools that they can't get away with. Like Penn State will come out and press us and trap us and double team us. They're not doing that against Michigan State or Wisconsin. They're trying to use their talent and their athleticism to knock us out early and then cruise the rest of the way. So I'm a big believer that, the first media timeout and the second media timeout, we got to come back to those timeouts feeling good about ourselves. And usually what leads to success when those teams press is the turnovers, because the turnovers usually lead to baskets. They get excited. The crowd gets into the game. What we've got to do is have some early success with our offensive possessions and make sure defensively that we don't give up easy baskets.
Well, Coach, wish you the best of luck. Can't wait to get this thing rolling. Paul Schwartz had one other question, so we'll throw that out to end this, and that is, he wants to know if with the losses that they've had at Stony Brook this year, with Purifoy and the big man gone, can you guarantee Paul Schwartz 2 wins against Stony Brook?
Only if Paul's playing for Stony Brook. It's crazy because Stony Brook lost Warney, who's a once in a lifetime player in the America East, and then you lose Purifoy, who's terrific, and McGrew, and then Albany loses Singletary, Sanders, Hooley, and for some crazy reason we get picked 3rd. Stony Brook gets picked 7th. Right now I do think, I can't speak for Stony Brook, I do think right now we need to really use this non-conference schedule to learn as much as we can about ourselves, because I really do believe that come America East Conference play, I do think that Vermont is definitely at this point better than everybody else in the league based on the 5 starters returning and the addition of the transfer from Tulane, who's their best player. But I think right after that, I think we can be right there. And I would love to have an opportunity, it's a long time away, Raj and Zach, but I would love to have the opportunity, to play Vermont in a conference tournament situation in a game that really matters. But shoot, we got to get a whole lot better to get to that point. But I do think we can make some noise in conference play this year if we can get to conference play feeling pretty good about ourselves. And Roger, I'm still waiting for a recommendation on a restaurant for us to eat at and a place that can also deliver some food for us. We're going to Happy Valley. That's your neck of the woods, man.
I'll take care of that for you. Don't worry. I'm just doing a little bit of homework because there's probably been some.
No, we're talking food, not beverages.
No.
No players invited.
Zach's laughing. You hear Zach laughing in the background there. We're talking food.
No. I know you're talking food, but I need to do my homework.
I'll ask you for a beverage spot after the game if things don't go well.
Okay.
But right now, I'm planning on everything going well.
All right. I'll take care of that for you before the day's out. You'll get a text from me.
I appreciate that.
Coach.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I'll see you. That's Will Brown, and we're off and running here with UA basketball. We will be featuring. We're gonna throw this up in the air and play really right down the middle. We got Will on Mondays. We're gonna have Jimmy Patsos on once a week.